Attention.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Toku Portal Podcast. I am Vashi V, and joining me today is.
Rye. And welcome to Ryusoulger episode 22. So this episode is a part 2 to last week. So Vash, I have some questions about last week's episode for you. First of all, Creon and Tank Joe.
I fucking love these two.
Right?
Like Creon especially. Just like the interaction and how fucking happy she was that Tank Joe was back. Like, which also carries over into this episode too, because Tank Joe kind of got murdered last episode too.
I've been comparing Tank Joe to being Creon's older brother.
Like that would be fair. And obviously in this case not an asshole brother. That would have been that one douche noodle that was forcing Creon to do everything. But yeah, just Creon's excitement and happiness that he was back in. If anybody heard that giant ding ding, I apologize. It's exceedingly well done. I like the fact that they're fleshing out the villains more than just having them be that this is the stereotype for this villain. Which Sentai has done a lot. Granted, the easiest one to point out to would be Kishiryu Ryusoulger. But there was a reason for that. They were specifically after one particular emotion. This is just, whatever they decide to be going after for that particular week. So having the villains be fleshed out and not be one-dimensional is amazing.
Are you disappointed like I am that Tank Joe doesn't meet Wiseru?
I am, but I think it may work out better a little bit.
Keep the separation of the mentors.
Right, because Wiseru's great in his own way for Creon. Like Tank Joe was more that stern older brother of you can have fun and enjoy this, but we're not friends. Because he was very quick to admonish Creon for laughing at the wrong time or anything like that, whereas Wiseru is the more lackadaisical one of, okay, as long as you're having fun, I don't care.
Just don't have more fun than me.
Right. And that's it. It's like he's the more laid back, where Tank Joe is the more firm but fair. Though it was nice to see him come back, seeing as he got murdered off so freaking quick.
Shadow Raptor and Kurayami Soul. Kanalo just basically being able to summon black holes now.
Yeah, because that's what the water guy needs. I can picture one event happening, and it's not a good one, and it'll probably never happen.
Oh, but he can suck up specifically whatever he wants.
This would have been a good thing to see him have at the end of the other episode, where the girl at the shrine had a husband. Of him going, not anymore.
I'm pretty sure the more convenient situation where she flashes her wedding ring, and he sucks up the wedding ring as though that matters.
Well, I mean, he does live underwater, so that would make sense that he wouldn't understand that. But yeah, this entire setup for this episode and last episode were fantastic. The only thing I didn't like about it was the fact that it was more confusing when Shadow Raptor showed up. Like, because literally it was just, here's a hole, Canelo shows up, and the Kirishu's on a rampage. And that's like the last we see of it until at the end of the episode it goes, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna summon this fucker. Like,
Right.
they kind of glossed over that whole aspect of it, which is the only issue I have. And then what happens in this episode is one that I'm like, meh. Looks cool though, but meh.
And then finally, the end of the last episode, like, the Ryusoulgers are looking over the city and seeing how destroyed it is from Tank Joe.
Like, that, the fact that they covered the rebuilding of the city is honestly one of my favorite parts of the episode, because that's something that's never really touched on, if ever. I think the closest it came that type of stuff getting pointed out was in Tomoko Hero, where literally their entire job was to go rescue people from this type of shit. Just minus the other giant monsters and shit happening. But, you know, when things got destroyed in, like, Deca Ranger, the next episode, everything's fine. No construction crews, no nothing, everything's just back up. And it's the same way with, like, all of Sentai. Things don't stay broken. And it's never touched on of, shit, we fucked up that building, we might want to help them rebuild it, or reference anything like that of it being fixed.
There's one specific example I can think of when in Shinkenger, Red was talking to this, like, young child who was, like, alone and getting bullied and such, and he finds out that the boy's father was killed during a mech fight.
Right, it's like, it's, and then, well, we also have that with the villains for, Lupat, where they stepped on one.
That's right, they stepped on a monster.
But, like, it's exceedingly rare for this type of pointed out to this level of, well, fuck. Granted, in this particular case, he gets ex machina'd out the ass by having a twin Kishiryu basically just show up and go and, you know, sparkle vomit all over the city, and hey, everything's fine again.
The powers of creation and destruction. Two halves of the same Kishiryu, as Master Pink puts it.
Right. And, well, and along with Set.
Yes. So, this episode we open up with Set explaining himself. He's a former Ryusoulger. He should be dead. His spirit was locked away in a shrine. We don't know why. He doesn't really go into detail, and no one bothers to ask him. But Tatsui, Ui's dad, while studying the Kishiryu, found the shrine, and so Set's soul just kind of attached itself to his body. So, Deki and I have been talking about weird things about Ui's dad and how they don't make sense and how he has some sort of secret past to him. Nah, it's just a ghost.
Right, because that was one of the big questions that I had, and I know me and you had talked about, was this motherfucker knows way too much, and it's very convenient. Like the episode with Mera, whatever the hell the actual Kishiryu is called, the Red's power up.
Dime Volcano. Mera Soul. Yep.
He kind of hinted at how to solve the problem, because the book was missing a page.
Which he
over and he
somehow found it.
Yeah, he magically just, oh, here it is, and like nobody questions and all that. And that was something I'm like, no, that's suspect. And like I understand that he spent his life or however long studying these damn things, but he seemed to know up until this point way more than he should, and this would be a good explanation of why. Even if it's not set, taking over and all that, I can understand that whole like mentally feeding Ui's dad information, and him just thinking that like is just some brilliant idea or something he read a long time ago. Like it would fit. Still doesn't explain the creepiness in the opening, which I'm still curious about that.
So Seth goes on to explain that the dead coming back to life is being caused by a Minosaur. And then the Minosaur appears. I'm sorry.
That's almost as bad, because this type of thing happens in Sentai and Rider and everything else, where they start talking about the thing and the thing appears. And this is a trope that's in everything, both Japanese, foreign films, and even stuff here in the U.S. Like, to me, this is the equivalent of the convenient newscast in American television, where it just happens to be on the TV happens to be on the news, and as soon as they look at it, it's starting to air something specifically relevant to what just happened or what is about to happen.
This one I feel is even more absurd because the entire last episode we never saw the monster. We never saw the Minosaur. We never even saw a hint that a Minosaur was walking around.
Well, that's because he wasn't walking around.
Well, no, but you know what I mean. All these all these lives are disappearing, like mostly animal lives, but still. And then it's not until this episode when someone says it's a Minosaur that it happens to show up now. Like, that's the more absurd part to me.
Right, and the aspect of that I have of it that makes it even more absurd is the whole purpose of the Minosaur is to gather souls for whatever reason and bring back dead for whatever reason.
So, the purpose of the Minosaur is really interesting because the Minosaur in general basically are like the greed from O's, or rather the monsters they create, where they're just trying to fulfill whatever desire based on the host that they are created from. With that aspect of the Bugsters from X-Aid, where as they fulfill that aspect, they kill their host.
Because this show doesn't really have an original idea yet.
I think this combination of the two is kind of unique for Sentai, at least.
It is. But in the end, we find out who it's born from, and it makes sense that it's bringing people back to life.
Like, so...
The part that I'm confused on is why it's killing people, too, unless it's that whole one-for-one.
You saw Full Alchemist, right? Equivalent exchange.
Right, and that's kind of along the path that I was thinking. But, and yeah, I guess that would make sense too if we saw happen this episode with somebody coming back to life. When, the ritual for Tank Joe.
Right.
But here's the fundamental issue with it showing up when it did. Like, later in the episode we get the whole, it's attacking large gatherings. There was no large gathering there. There were 5, 6, 7, 8 people. 8 people. 9 if you count Set Soul.
Not as large as what was going to happen later, but that was still a bit of people grouped together. They all happened to be able to just will themselves into not dying for some reason.
Yeah, because that's a thing, apparently. Apparently, if you don't want to die, you just have to focus really. I'm going to remember that when a Shinigami shows up.
No! I refuse!
And then, of course, Supernatural shows out why that's a bad idea, but anyways. but like this Minosaur is like in terms of like longevity for it of being entertaining or threatening. It aside from the whole soul thing, it's not. It shows up, does its thing, and disappears, and that's about it until the end when it gets wrecked. Like this is the first Sentai episode that doesn't have a monster fight in the way that we're used to seeing it. Of the Sentai team shows up, kicks the ass out of the monster, monster gets big, then mech gets called. That doesn't happen.
Right, the monster, when we finally see him, is already big because he's just been acting in, like, undisturbed.
Right, because everybody left him the fuck alone.
Somehow that didn't hit the news.
Right. Hey, a bunch of dead people are back.
No, that hit the news. The monster in the sky didn't.
Right, well, I mean, he was only there for like 5 seconds, did his thing, and went boink. But again, you'd think, at least for those 5 seconds, at least somebody would look up and see a giant fucking hole in the sky. Who am I kidding? This is Sentai. Nobody cares.
Nobody notices anything.
Like, to me, this harkens back to Gaim. It's crossover with Sentai, where they're fighting the mech outside of Melon Lord's office, and he gets a phone call about it, and he turns around, there's nothing there, turns back around, stomps back into view, gets his ass kicked, turns back around, nothing. Like, it's that level of oblivion.
So, Ko gets really mad at the Minosaur because it's messing with life and death, and he uses his whip power-up to attack it, and he latches onto it, and it pulls him with him into the afterlife. At least that's what I think that other dimension is. I don't really know.
That's the closest thing we can equate it to. Because, I mean, through it, we only ever saw one other dead person.
This weird in-between dimension.
Right.
Ko runs into Tank Joe there.
You know, the one other dead guy.
Who tries, like, tempting Ko, saying, like, are you sure you want to defeat this Minosaur? It could bring your Master Red back to life. And Ko actually hesitates for a moment. Like, it's really good.
Like, that was very well done. Because it showed a second of hesitation, and it showed the good aspect of this particular Minosaur. Of, hey, the dead come back to life. Which, you know, we got through everybody that came back in the last episode. Like, Ui's mother, Master Pink, which, that's about the only 2 people we saw. But it was a nice nod to go, you know, this could be a good thing if you just stay the hell out of our business. Which normal people would have hesitated more in that position, especially given the fact that, like, Ko specifically feels really at fault for his master's death. But with the way it plays out, it also shows why he's a very good Red.
Like, the first time they defeated Tank Joe, Ko was straight up angry at him because he blamed him for killing Master Red. And just that hesitation shows that, like, Ko would consider undoing it if he could, but this is not the right situation to do that.
Right. And his the realization and the words he says is a really good thing. Is like, no life is worth sacrificing to bring somebody back. That all life is precious, which is a great mentality. Is like, if you can bring somebody back to life without somebody else dying or something else dying, then fine. This wouldn't be an issue. But you're killing people to do it, so fuck off.
And we do get our, like, traditional monster fight. It's just with Tank Joe instead of the Minosaur, where Ko tries soloing him. And, like, last week was a fresh reminder that they didn't defeat Tank Joe, they just bullshitted their way to victory. Tank Joe
Right.
is still strong enough to just beat them in a fair fight.
Right. And it's the one thing I'm disappointed that the fact that they killed Tank Joe off was the aspect of how they did it. It was because, again, last episode pointed out that it was just pure bullshit that they did it, and then kind of pointed out that it was pure bullshit that it happened again. Granted, this particular last week's episode had more thought put into how they defeated them. There was thought and planning and setup. But it's still kind of bullshit when you think about the long run of it. Especially with how easily he kicks the shit out of everybody this episode. And why he kicks the shit out of everybody this episode.
Yeah. During the fight, Ko is knocked out of his transformation, and he's in a pretty hopeless spot, but he doesn't give up. He, like, pushes forward, and Shine Raptor comes in and saves him by pulling him out, because, you know, he's not dead, he's not supposed to be there. Seth explains that, like, Shine Raptor is a little pretentious, but seems to have taken a liking to Ko, and he ends up with her Ryusoul, whatever it's called.
There's one aspect of this that I have a small.
What's up?
So, the Shine Raptor apparently can go in and out that world dimension.
Kagayaki Soul, that's it. Go on.
And knows those that should be there and those that should not.
Well, so Shine Raptor can travel between dimensions. I think Shadow Raptor can. Yeah, they can both travel between dimensions. And so whatever that world is, it is basically its own dimension.
Well, here's my question. Why is Ko the only person that she rescued from it?
Because Ko is of the living.
So were the other living people that they snatched? Oh, okay, then yeah, he went there with a body. Never mind, that would do it.
Yes.
Never mind. Figured it out in the end, because that was a question I had. I'm like, there's other people stuck there. It's like, the soul aspect didn't click.
Ko was pulled in there. He didn't have the ability used on him.
It's the Bleach aspect.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So meanwhile, Ui's mom is teaching her how to cook her favorite meal, and explaining the secret ingredient that makes it so sweet are caramelized onions.
Which, on a side note, are amazing.
And she regrets not teaching Ui sooner, but, you know, Ui was really young at the time, and no one could have predicted what would happen. But she's really proud to see the kind of woman that Ui has grown up into. And I feel bad, but all I could think when I saw that was, does she know how many friends Ui has? Has she seen the YouTube videos?
Right. Like, that's a bad thing to think, but it's accurate.
Yeah.
Because it was pointed out in the first or second episode that Ui doesn't have friends, and she has that let's bullshit a YouTube channel. But it was still touching and all that to see like that come full circle on that, with it being very touching and very needed on Ui's side, and to see that it was still kind of heartbreaking in that moment for Ui.
Carrying it forward, Asuna questions Master Pink as to why she came back to life. A real answer this time, not that trash answer from last time. Because Asuna knows her master. When you give a joke answer, you're hiding something. So basically, the Minosaur was born from Master Pink. Which explains why she still had some unfinished business, which explains why the Minosaur is all about like bringing the dead back to life. My question is how a Minosaur was created from a dead person, but we're just gonna ignore that.
Right, that was my question.
Like, I can accept that Minosaurs can be created from inanimate objects that hold sentimental value. That is a physical object that Creon can barf onto.
What did Creon barf on in for this aspect to work?
And what was the plan?
Right, because other than bringing Tank Gel back, I see no plan for this. Beyond, hey, let's dick with the Ryusoulgers. Because I had the thought when this episode first started and we see Master Pink show up and Ui's mom and all that, to go, this is Waizaru fucking around, because we know Waizaru can change his form. So that's what I was expecting it to be, Master Pink really being Waizaru. But with this, the way it plays out, this makes no sense for how a Minosaur was created from a dead person. Like, the only possible way I can think to quantify this is the Minosaur was created split seconds before Master Pink died.
That wouldn't make any sense. It would have been active this whole time, and it's been 4 months.
Right. What this would work timeline wise if it was doing it in small amounts, starting with the lowest life first.
Just kill a few ants.
Which would explain the fish and all of this stuff before it got up to stealing humans. At which point, once it started taking humans, it brought her back.
That is plausible. Still, it's like it still has the one problem of I don't believe Creon actually interacted with Master Pink during the events of that episode, the first episode, but
it also interferes with one other aspect of it. How were Black and Green going to stop the Minosaurs to start with?
Oh, they were going to kill the host. How can you kill a dead person?
Well, if this happened before that, she died. Minosaur's dead.
No, well,
If the host dies, so does the Minosaur.
If it was created before she died, then yes. But like, right. I could see them experimenting by creating a Minosaur from a dead person, so that like you can't kill them to stop it because they're already dead. But it leaves the question of how did they do it?
And also, where did they find out where they buried the bodies? Because I don't even think we got that.
What bodies? They were
Exactly.
obliterated.
Exactly.
So the Ryu soldiers like group together and uh, pool their information. Basically, there's going to be a large event with a lot of people around, so they figure, hey, maybe it'll show up there where there's a lot of people. We should go stake out that place so we can defeat it, and everything will go back to normal. And then they realize, oh, we will have to say goodbye to our mom again, and Asuna to Master Pink. But Kanalo gives a speech about how as long as you cherish them in your heart, then they won't truly be gone.
Right. And to me, that, like, her walking, Ui walking in on that particular. No, wait, that was Asuna who did it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, Asuna walking into it, like, to me, that was that gave her enough preparation, and I'm pretty sure she understood how that was going to play out in the end, anyways. But it helped her with her resolve, because this was a very good episode for Asuna. Even just with like the small little moments about that showcased her strength, like her catching Ko from his astronomical fall, and to the scene later with Tang Shou and all that, and with Master Pink at the end, it showed a good depth to her character for a show that hasn't really shown much depth of characters. Because I feel personally that the characters have been one-dimensional for the most part than we've gotten in recent years with Sentai.
I don't know. Key Ranger characters didn't really get a lot of development because of how many there were.
Right, but the ones that did.
Yeah,
like,
Tsurugi went through like quite a bit.
And so did Stinger. Granted, most of his was at the beginning.
Oh man, Naga became a villain for a while.
Yeah. Like, there were some decent arcs in that for character development. There was quite a few characters that missed a lot of development. Primarily Hammy.
Such wasted potential. The first official female green, too. Why would you do that?
I know.
So, Creon does a little ritual to basically summon the Minosaur to get Tenkyo back by offering 50 times points. And it works. And he offers a few grunts as, like, payment.
Which was fantastic. Like, this is, again, these are the interactions that I love. Creon, it shows how much she liked Tenkyo, how much she wants Tenkyo to be around.
Creon has the most character development of anyone on this show.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I could not be happier about that. But having Creon, basically, like, just watching Creon do the ritual dance and all that, it was perfect and head shaking at the same time. The whole time I'm like, God damn it, this is great. God damn it. Like, it was perfect for Creon's character. And especially with the whole thing with the points, too. I still have no idea what the points are for. And I don't know if we'll ever get that answer, but
New high score.
I like that. You're right. That's about the only thing I can think of right now. And the fact that it's been referenced more than once. I enjoy that.
So the Ryu soldiers come up with a plan. They change the signs pointing to the big event so that they point the wrong way so that people won't gather.
and in some instances, remove them altogether.
So they're waiting at the stage, and the monster shows up to nothing and just immediately bails. But Master Pink gives the advice of like, just use the two new Kishiryu you just got. They can travel between dimensions. Uh, so Ko and Kanalo call them in, and Ko combines them with Tiramigo and chases after the Minosaur in the other dimension, while the other five deal with Tank Joe. So at first I was kind of bothered by this, like okay, you're giving Red the big new power up, and this episode doesn't really have anything to do with him though. At first I was bothered by this, but then we get that big moment with Asuna, and I realized, okay, Red is just toy material. That's his role. Pink is actually getting the attention.
Right, and that's something I really liked, because the red centric power ups have always bothered me, especially here lately, because it's been more of a red team, red team. You know, it
Right, like, wasn't the problem with the Ninja that Red was the only character you needed?
as much as everybody hated him. Yes, he was the only one that was ever needed. Especially once he got that goddamn tiger, lion, Zord, what the fuck ever it was.
Yeah.
But the fact that this episode basically had nothing to fucking do with him, aside from that one moment with Tank Joe in the other dimension, and him going, yeah, somebody needs to stop this guy.
And, like, that they're giving appropriate attention and development to the other characters.
Like, and even if it is a little bit here and there, like the previous episode with Geisor with Toa. Toa.
Yeah.
And his development from beyond that single-minded, and granted that was more just technique, but it also taught him, it was also an episode of, well, I might want to listen to what other people have to say too. You know, the fact that this show is giving development to characters and not just focusing on Red, I enjoy.
Like, Ko has gotten development, like back when he was angry at Tank Joe and his anger was clouding his judgment. And he mostly just gets moments to prove, like, why he's the Red. But really, it's okay to make Red more important than the other members, so long as you don't make him the only character that's necessary. And so how they're going about it is just, Red is toy material. We use Red to shill out the new toys, but, like, everyone else is also important.
Like, and that's what I'm enjoying, is Red is literally there to shell toys. He's gotten enough development to hold him off for a little while.
Yeah.
And even with his the way his character was set up, he really didn't need all that much in the first place.
Right. Like, we got some neat stuff when he found Dime Volcano and he was the one to, like, solve the riddle thing. Like, he shows why he deserves to be Red, but he doesn't overstep his boundaries. He doesn't take screen time away from the other characters.
Right. Like, the fact that they've been focusing more the character development on everybody else rather than Red is a nice touch, because like I said, like from the start with, he really wasn't that bad of Red to start with. He had that mentality of, you know, we need to work together. We, you know, we're not killing people, even though that's the easiest option. Like, he's shown sufficiently enough why he's red. He really doesn't need that much development beyond that. With the way his character was set up, everybody else, on the other hand, does.
And they've been getting it.
And they're doing a good job.
Last week, when they were doing the mech fight, Kanalo had that line of, "You'll regret having met me," which I really liked because Kanalo showed up after Tangjo was initially defeated, so he didn't meet Tangjo before. Like, it was a unique interaction, and I love seeing unique interactions and making them relevant for like for that clash. So just Kanalo already being angry at Tangjo for how much damage he was causing, I thought that was great. So what we get here for this fight is Tangjo basically mocking everyone in turn for their weaknesses. Like, "Hey, Green, you're pretty fast, but you sure can't throw a punch." And all that stuff.
And it's done very, very well, because it's keeping everything true from the way that these characters are and how they've progressed. Like, Green focuses solely on his speed. He's not strength wise, he's not there, but his speed makes up for it normally. Black is focused on his technique, but he puts too much faith in it. Then we have, to me, the best part of it was when he didn't really have anything negative to say about Asuna. Like, beyond,
you don't fully utilize your strength.
Right. If you join us, we can help you with that. And then, of course, the whole Canelo's there was a moment through all of that I, in my fandom and nerdom, my brain went immediately to WWE. When Canelo starts to give his name and Tangjo goes, "I don't care." To my brain, all I could picture was The Rock's, "It doesn't matter what your name is." Because he really doesn't care.
Yeah, because when it's Kanelo's turn, Tangjo just deadpans like, "Who are you?" And Kanelo is just so caught off guard, like, "I've never had to introduce myself to my opponent before."
Right, and it's just one of those things, like, it's very well done. And the fact that they gave a point for that to happen. Because that could have just been glossed over, him just turning around and wrecking Canelo, and that being the end of it. But the fact they had that little brief moment of going, "I have no idea who you are."
While they're unable to overcome Tangjo, Asuna is the one who's able to, like, get in the closest to him in just a strength versus strength battle. And he disarms her, but Master Pink tosses Asuna her sword, and Asuna, just like one fluid motion, catches it and strikes Tangjo to create an opening. And so all the others just, like, throw all their power into that sword.
Which, that played out differently than my brain expected it to. Like, my brain followed the whole, as much as I don't like when this happens on the podcast, but to liken it to another show would be what my thought was, it was going to go like the same way of Goku asking everybody for their energy in Dragon Ball, where it's just, metaphorically kind of thing, I guess would be the best way to put it. That whole "we stand behind you, for you," and all that. whatnot. I wasn't expecting them to use the finishers,
Uh,
and for the sword to catch it. And my God, the sword looked amazing. Like for a hodgepodge of CG bullshit,
oh yeah, it looked great.
it looked amazing.
So while Red is defeating the Minosaur with his new toy, Asuna is getting real shit done, where she actually defeats Tank Joe. No bullshit tactics of blowing him up like a balloon or like trapping him inside of buildings so that they can just suck him up with a black hole. No. She actually takes him out.
Right. And she just slices the shit out. And it's fantastic. And like I said, it's like, and the, to me, she's the only logical person for that, to an option for them to do.
She's the strongest, physically. And Tank
Right.
Joe is just a powerhouse.
He's a fucking tank.
He's the Destra of this show.
Like it's this to me was, I would have been okay with this being the end of it, rather than, wait, which happened first, that or Ko?
Um, Ko happened first, then Asuna.
Okay. Man,
Like
I'm
they
glad
did,
that-
they did them simultaneously, but oh no, wait, Asuna killed Tank Joe first, then Ko defeated the Minosaur.
like, to me, if they'd have done that the other way, to me, I felt
That would have
would've
been
had more-
better. Yeah.
right, because it wouldn't have overshadowed Asuna's accomplishment with whatever the fuck that fight was.
I actually like that Ko killed the Minosaur afterwards, because there was no bullshit like, well, Tank Joe was weakened because the Minosaur was bringing him back. Like, no. No, she fucking killed Tank Joe. She did
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yeah, when you put it that way, that makes sense. That works that way. I just think from a visual standpoint, it takes away from Asuna visually.
But it doesn't
to me,
take away from her victory, which I prefer.
like, in terms of like, wow, it to me it just overshadows it, because we have this awesome moment and then it's, oh look, here's this happening.
I mean, they sit on Tank Joe exploding for like 5 seconds, with Creon horrified watching.
Also, why did he have a fork?
I don't know.
That was he just has a giant ass fork for some reason.
You know, I didn't even question it until now. At no point did that come up.
And then, you know, we have that sad excuse for a fucking mech fight.
Yeah, whatever. Ko's just playing with his new toy.
Like, I would have been okay with it if the fucking graphics of it didn't look like it was done in paint.
Like, I get what they're going for with the whole, like, other dimensional rift, like, dimensional rift battle and all, but it was a bit too garish.
It was.
Not
And
to
then,
mention, not to mention how little I fell for it compared to what was happening with Asuna.
Right. And then add in the aspect of the black hole just looking like a giant bag of dicks.
It wasn't that bad, but yeah, Asuna had the much more impressive CGI effect. Sometimes simple is best.
Right. Like, they could have done better with the black hole. look to me that killed it. And then we have and coming up is the way that they played out the last three scenes. I feel are the best that they could have done.
Yeah. So first we get Asuna saying goodbye to Master Pink, who explains to Asuna, "You weren't my best student." First of all, wow.
I know, what a kick in the fucking nuts.
But you were the best at your heart. You were the most mentally and maturely prepared to be a Ryusoulger. That's why I chose you.
Like, and to me, that was amazing.
It's like, yeah, being able to do it is one thing, but being ready to do it, like, that's something else. That's character, and that's something Asuna has.
Like, it's done really really well. Because in this particular aspect, it's the message of you don't need to be the best as long as your heart's in the right place. And Asuna's heart has always been in the right place, even if half of her mind is on, Takoyaki.
Asuna tries covering up her tears, and Ko and Meltu go and ask her what they are talking about. Asuna, really, forces back her crying, and Ko sees her face and goes, "Oh, were you making fun of Melto?" And they turn it into, just a wholesome moment where they're having fun, and Asuna is able to smile.
Like, to me, that was very very touching. Like, seeing going from her trying to force the smile before Master Pink vanished to actually smiling because of Ko and
Melto.
Melto. And I honestly feel that in terms of with Ko actually, I think Ko actually knew that obviously it wasn't making fun of Melto and it was something deeply personal. And it was, I think that was more of him trying to distract her, the heartbreak of losing Master Pink again.
Smiru. Second.
The sad thing is, in my head, I did the fucking motion she does.
The second scene is Ui's mom disappearing while Ui is finishing up preparing the Hamburg steak, and Ui gives her a final thank you as a tear rolls down her face.
My god, the feels. Like, to me, like I said, I like the way that they ordered, because it went from something that was kind of depressing to something that was really emotional.
And
in the aspect of, when you think about it, Master Pink's had a lot longer time Asuna than Ui did with her mother.
Right.
So for her to have that moment, have that acknowledgement before she disappeared.
You had the one that resists crying, the one that slightly cries, and then you got the one who's just bawling his eyes out. Creon is so upset right now. And Wiseru just goes up. No jokes, no self-bragging, nothing. Just, it's okay to cry, and hands him a tissue. And that is the moment we end on, and that is great.
Like, that is why I like the dynamic that Wiseru and Creon have. That it's not all, let's all smile and be giggle and have fun the whole time. Shit's gonna suck. And that's okay. It's okay to cry. Which, to get that message from the villains, is exceedingly unique.
Right. So I have to cut this short, but we actually end on everyone eating the meal that Ui made, learned from her mother, and they're all wondering, oh, how is it so good? She's like, well, the secret ingredient is a secret, and it's just really cheery. I have to cut
It
this
is.
short, sorry. Go ahead and say your final thoughts, and then we have to end this.
All right, like, and it was very very well, and it's a nice lighthearted moment to end an emotional roller coaster that the past two episodes have been. All in all, this episode was fantastic and a perfect end to this little arc.
Yeah, it's probably the best episode so far. Uh, and I hope we get more wholesome content like this from this show. So thanks for joining us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with Kamen Rider Zio. We'll see you next time.
Thank you all for joining. We will see you next time.